I'm looking out for our votes. Wow. So I'm saying beginners, I'm saying intermediate. I'm waiting for the advanced people, right? So that we know that we have all of the people in class, right? All right. So we're still having, oh, someone has voted advanced. Amazing. Okay. All right. Beautiful. So we still have the votes going on, right? So please let's vote, let's vote, let's vote. I want you to rate your current data literacy level. And it's fine if you don't even know it, right? But just take a guess and let's see, right? Okay, I think we have more people in class now. And hello, Mosadi Oluwa from Lagos. It's so nice to have you on the call. Then there's Temilola from Ekiti. Wow, how's Ekiti, by the way? It's so nice to have us all on the call. Yeah, so let me go back to my post before I do some mini introductions. Um, all right, so it feels like the intermediate guys are winning. Feels like the intermediate guys are winning, and that's nice. It gives us, a feel of the class and where we can actually kick off from. Amazing. Okay. So I'll just start with the introductions, tell you what we do at Techlitics quickly, and then introduce our speaker, right? We need to know, you know, who Rotimi is and what's going to be doing here, right? So I'm going to be sharing my screen now. Please let me know when you can see it, and yeah, so that we can quickly kick off and have an insightful time in class. Oh, I'm used to saying in class. Okay, I'm sorry. In this session, in this session, please. Thank you. All right, so I'm sharing my screen already. You can just pull a thumbs up when you can see my screen rather. Entire screen. Okay, so you can give me a thumbs up when you can see my screen, please. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Okay, can you see my screen, please? I'm waiting for the thumbs up. Can you see my screen, please? Anybody? Before I dive in. Can anybody see my screen? Oh, amazing. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So let's do this. All right. So just a bit about athletics and what we do, right? So we are empowering Africa's workforce for a digital future. And we've seen the gap. We've seen the gap in digital skills, and that's why we're doing what we're doing. We want to ensure that people have the skills that they need in this time and age, right? We've seen that there's a lot of gap, and we're yet to actually fill those gaps, right? So the Techlitics at a glance, we're an tech institution driving Africa's growth by equipping its workforce with critical digital skills, aligning with SDG goals for quality education and decent work and economic growth. We're also accredited by the CPD certification service in the UK, and we adopt a blended model of quad-based learning programs, virtual, and a practice-driven virtual simulation lab where our students can actually put to practice what they've learned in the class over time. Now, our vision is to be the leading force in Africa's digital transformation by equipping professionals with essential skills that foster economic growth, resilience, and sustainable development across Nigeria and the continent. And we aim to reskill over 10,000 professionals by 2025. And that's why we're doing all of this. We're doing webinar series. We have materials on our YouTube pages, website, just to ensure that we can meet our mission by this year, 2025. And you might want to find out if we have, be on the lookout. Right. So I already spoke about the problem statement, how that, there are projected 230 million jobs, and then we still do not have enough hands to actually do this. there is a gap, and then we're yet to, fill that gap. And these are our solutions, right? We have a co-op-based learning model, like I spoke about earlier, that drives peer-to-peer engagement, collaboration. You get to learn with people of the same mind, people that are going towards the same goal, share ideas, and just give you more room, more ground to actually understand what's being taught. And then we have a virtual lab, right? So this allows students to actually have hands-on experience of what they are learning. So they're not just learning theories, but they can actually practicalize and see, the solutions real time. We also have strategic internship placements, and we have an AI labeled NMS where students can get quick feedback on the assignment, quizzes, or whatever they're working on. These are reusable partnerships. We just concluded a partnership we're still in partnership with Nigerian Society of Engineers. So we just concluded a training where we train young engineers with digital skills such as data analytics, low code, and low code software engineering. And it was an amazing time. We saw students that when they came in, they really did not have so much knowledge on digital skills. And by the time they were graduating, they were good for it. And these are the brands that have trusted us over time and still continue to trust us. Then this is the best thing. Tyler is the founder and lead trainer. And then I'm Fidel's program manager. We have Timothy and we have Triumph. And this is why we're here today, right? So we're here to talk about data literacy 101, why it matters for every employee. And we have Rotimi Fawumi on the call to take us, that is a senior data governance consultant at MDIS. I remember the first time I spoke with Fawumi we Rotimi rather over the call. It felt like I had started the webinar already because I could see the passion, the enthusiasm. I could see everything that he was ready to bring to the table, how he was passionate about, and he's still passionate about ensuring that people are data literate and understand what they're supposed to do with that data. And I told him that I cannot wait for today. Apparently, today has come, and I'm really excited because I know that there is a lot that he has to, tell, unfold and tell everybody on the call, right? And I'm just going to tell us a little bit about Rotimi before it comes on board. Rotimi Fawumi is a seasoned data governance consultant, certified data management professional, and an active member of DEMA UK. With vast experience across diverse industries, is a passionate advocate for enterprise, data governance, and data-driven innovation, helping organizations harness the power of their data to drive strategic growth and sustainability. As a data strategist, he specializes in designing and implementing governance frameworks that unlock data value, foster stakeholder collaboration, and enable impactful change management. Through his work, he has empowered businesses to adopt data-driven practices that ensure long-term success. Rotimi holds a master's degree with distinction in advanced engineering, wow, and management from Sheffield Hallam University, UK, and a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from Obafemi Awolowo University, Nigeria. He's a member of the Nigerian Society of Engineers and a current certified professional. Beyond his expertise, Rotimi is a trainer, entrepreneur, and social impact advocate dedicated to bridging the gap between data literacy and business sustainability. And this is a lot, and I'm sure it does not capture everything that Rotimi does. But, we just want to say thank you, Rotimi, for joining us on this call. And we hope that, you give us everything that you have to give us. And we are really, really excited to have you on the call. Welcome, Rotimi. Please confirm you can hear me. Hi, Rotimi. Can you hear me, please?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can see you and I can hear you. Yes, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much, Glory.
Yeah.
I don't really, my head was swelling as you were talking. I was looking at it that, is this really me? What's going on here? Thank you so much. Like, it's really warming and welcoming. Just like I said the very first time that you and I have a conversation, that I feel like I was home already. And that's exactly how I'm still feeling right now. You're an amazing host, and I think you should keep it up. Thank you so much. Right.
Thank you so much.
And well, we are here already, and we are here for Data Literacy 101, why it matters to every employee. I welcome everybody to the webinar. I don't think I need any further introduction. Gloria has done justice to that. So you will permit me to get right into the business and why we dissect and cut and drill into the business of the day. So permit me to share my screen. In the course of our conversation, should you have any question or something, just drop it in the chat box, and I think Gloria can call my attention to that. And if you can wait till the end of the whole presentation there, that's also fine, so that we can get into it. We have a whole lot to unpack today. So I'm currently trying to share my screen.
All right. It's coming up already.
Oh, great.
Yeah. I can see it. Yeah. So.
Oh, right. So the topic before us today is Data Literacy 101, which I'm sure we are all quite aware of why we are here today, why it matters to every employee. I really prefer to say why it matters to everyone, really, because it's data literacy. This is 21st century, where I would say data really runs our life. So everybody needs to be data literate. Well, we've already greeted, we've met each other. I've seen Fumin, I've seen Latifa, I've seen some lovely names on the chat box. It's nice meeting everyone, and I'm glad you're all here. And I'm very sure at the end of the day, I'm confident that we will fully understand what our data literacy level really is. So these are the learning objective for today's course. We would really be diving into what data really is and what is data literacy itself. Then we explore the core principles of data literacy, debunk the myth of what data literacy is not and what data literacy really is. We examine the components of a thriving data ecosystem that can sustain and empower everyone to be data literate. We understand what the growing demand of data literacy skills and why it matters to everyone. Then we look at roadmap to becoming data literate. So first of all, what exactly is data? Definitely you have to understand what data is itself, even if you'll be data literate, right? So you cannot be a pastor that is going to the church and doesn't even know what Bible means. To a layman, data is just simply information that is collected in raw form, like numbers, word, facts, that can be used to understand things and make decisions or solve problems. So for instance, if you ask 10 people their favorite fruit and they write it down, that answer and that list of fruits that they've given to you is data. That's how simple it is. That's what data really is. And when you count how many people need different varieties of fruits like apples, banana, and orange, you're already using that data to find meaning. So essentially, when we talk about data in its raw state, it does not really have so much meaning until we start getting insight and we are really putting context to it. At an high definition, data is structured or unstructured representation of facts, observations, and measurements that can be recorded, stored, and processed and analyzed to generate insights, inform decision, and support operations. So at the end of the day, the reason for data is for us to be able to recommend an impactful and measurable outcome to the business. It is for us to be able to make a data-driven decisions. It's for us to be able to use data that can use to impact our life positively, rather than we just using gut feelings. So what are the types of data that we have? We have structured data. Can you see my screen? Hi.
Yes,
Can you still see my screen?
yes, your screen is up, yeah, and we can still hear you clearly.
All right, great. We have structured data, which are data that are in your rows and column. And we have unstructured data like social media, email, survey, audio record that are outside of the relational databases. Hence, what we are simply saying here is that data plays a foundational role in analytics, business, to make strategic decisions. We cannot talk about data without necessarily understand what are the different classifications of data that we have. Remember, we said data is just a raw representation of information, fact. It is understanding what are the level of classifications of this data that command meaning, that command importance to the data itself. So it is imperative for us to know what are the classes of our data. And data classification, it's context-based, right? Before we get to this slide, I already said we have two types of data, structured and unstructured data. Structured data are those forms of data that are in your relational databases, that are in forms of rows and columns, those kind of data you see on your Excel. While unstructured data are the forms of data that are outside of relational databases. That on its own is a form of classification based on type. Here, for the sake of this conversation, we are looking at a classification based on the sensitivity of the information, because really, that is why data are entrusted to us as an organization. That is why data are entrusted to us as individuals. You really want to treat data based on the level of risk, based on the level of importance. So some data are considered public, some are internal, some are confidential, and some are restricted. Because not all data have equal level of importance. Some needs to be protected, like personal identifiable information that can identify a living human being. Take, for example, as an organization, you have entrusted your house address, your phone number into our hand. If we do not understand that that kind of data possesses high level of sensitivity, just imagine you waking up one day and seeing your data on the social media. Now everybody knows where your house address is. Now everybody knows where you live. I suppose how you will feel disappointed. That is why we have to understand what the classifications of data are and how we protect it so that we can use it to control and help organizations to handle data responsibly. That is the key word. Responsible use of data, responsible handling of data, so that it can be secured and protected, and it can be used by the right people at the right time, by the right set of people. Data runs the world. As at 2022, the estimated worth of the global data is between 100 to 300 billion US dollars. Let's assume that we are even taking the lower band, which is 100 billion that is represented in this chart. That's a huge amount of data. So if you have just been thinking of data as zeros and ones, as just my name and your name, you had better think and take another time to process it. Data is life. Data is money. Data is everything. It is what underpins the decision making. It is what underpins the difference between a great company and just a good one. It is what differentiates how an operations and how an organization performs. Surprisingly, 90% of the whole world data was produced in the last 2 years. As at 2010, we were producing just 5 zettabytes of data. Well, When I say zettabyte, it might just look like just one big word, but let's bring it into context. Zettabytes, it's like you stacking, it's like you getting the whole sand of the whole world as it stands, and the whole water body of the whole world 2 times. We live in a world that runs on data. Every time you send an email, you request an Uber, you browse a website. As we are conducting a training via this what's it called, webinar, we are producing a whole lot of data. These data are so huge that we produce as huge as 2.5 quintillion bytes of data every single day. That is like you producing the whole sand in the whole world twice in a day. Does big necessarily means that it's better? If we are producing this huge amount of data, taking 2023 as a use case, the whole world produced 120 zettabytes of data. Does it necessarily means that this huge amount of data, it's necessary if it is not we are not using it to derive meaningful insights and it's driving decisions? Well, I have a news for you. The world is using less than 1%. I repeat, less than 1% of this old data in existence. It is used for analytics purpose. It is used for making decisions. It is used for meaningful insights. So just imagine the whole sand in the whole world. We are saying that if you take an handful of sand in your hand, we don't even use up to that. And yet we are producing so much amount of data in terms of volume, variety, and velocity. And this is the reason why we can now see the huge gap, the disparity that is between the amount of data we are producing in the world and the amount that is being used. That tells you the reason why data literacy is very, very important. Here is the twist. According to Forrester, the study says that basic data literacy skill was the most important factor for employee success across all departments. But less than half of the companies that reported this actually offer a data skills training. Only 11% of employees are fully confident in data literacy skills. And it is not really a rocket science. Looking at the data that has been presented in front of us, imagine the amount of data that we are producing. When you go to your Instagram, those Snapchat, those TikTok, imagine the amount of data that you are producing. And yet, less than 1% of such data globally, assuming we can add all the data that is in your phone or my phone, in laptops and different databases, data lake, data mart, here and there together. Imagine less than 1% of it is being used. No wonder there's so much huge gap for data literacy. There's so much huge gap and so much market and demand for employees to be data literate, because ultimately that is what is directly tied to employee success. Well, this is the catch. 82% of decision makers expect that data literacy skills from employees in every department. So which means that the leadership of most organizations, about 82%, have already awoken to the reality that if data is essentially what runs our world, data is how big organizations like the Netflix, Amazon of this world make data-driven decisions. That is how they know what you want to buy, and they are able to post things to your address and not send it to the wrong place. If they have awoken to that reality that now data literacy is how employee can start performing at the highest level, that is really a good news, right? 85% of executives also believe that being data literate will be as vital in the future as the ability to use a computer in today's world. Just imagine I don't think any one of us in this room can think of anybody that doesn't even know how to press a phone. Even my 85-year-old grandma can do that. But it wasn't like that some few years ago, right? The size of laptops was as big as a whole building. But in today's world, computer is practically in everybody's hand, called mobile phones, smartphones. And that's essentially what data literacy will look like in the future, which is really going to be what is going to determine. Maybe you will be leveraged. Maybe you will be able to exist and be able to function in the world that we are going to, which is being accelerated by the advent of artificial intelligence. So what is data literacy? Now we understand what the growing demand for data literacy is. We understand what data is at its core. So what exactly is data literacy? There are so many definitions out there. And every definition at its own baseline is simply talking about 4 fundamental things. And for the sake of this class, we are going to define data literacy as the ability to interpret, manage, analyze, and communicate with data. And what does it mean to interpret? That is the first component in this definition. What does somebody that can interpret data, what does it mean? It means that you are able to comprehend and make sense of data presented to you. As simple as if there is a list of data of you are going to serve Mr. So this, you are going to send this unpack here, as long as you can read the information that is presented in front of you and you are able to make decision with it and send and make and be able to present that data and be able to do what that data prescribe, that means you are data literate. It means you can interpret what data is. Usually these data are presented in form of tables, charts, and metrics. And the second component of this definition is manage. If you are able to manage data, it means you can work with raw data to store, clean, and transform it for exploration and analysis. And for you to be able to analyze data, you take it another one notch upward by being able to use necessary tools, analytical tools, and techniques to identify patterns and insights in the data. At the end of the day, it is not enough to be able to interpret, manage, and analyze if we cannot communicate and tell a story with whatever we have found out from the data that can help to bring a narrative that can influence decisions that ultimately help the business. So the reason why data literacy is important is that it gives you the ability to interpret and manage this data. If it's as simple as you knowing where the right data that you need to do your job is stored, you are managing data in your own right. Then you can use it to make analysis and you can communicate whatever findings with it. What exactly is data literacy not, right? We have been able to express and tell ourselves what is data literacy. It is also important for us to know what data literacy is not. What are the myths that needs to be debunked? Data literacy is not forcing everyone to learn complex math or programming languages. I think this is really one of the biggest problems in the industry. It is why when people hear the concept of data literacy, nobody really wants to gravitate towards it because we have made it look like zeros and one. You must know how to do Python, SQL. Unfortunately, it is not. What data literacy is, it is just about helping everyday people make smarter and data-driven decisions. It is not about forcing you to learn what you don't want to learn. It's not about turning everybody to a programmer. Data literacy is not replacing dedicated analytics and data science team so that everybody can now become what can become all those wizards the way we used to see them in the film that they are typing so fast. No, that's not what data literacy is all about. It's about empowerment, which is helping people to be able to have access to data and learning resources when they need it. Data democratization. Also, data literacy is not about transforming everyone into a data scientist or data engineer. That is not the goal of data literacy. It is simply about empowering you with the right skills that you need to thrive. So if all you do is you go to your Yaba market and you sell clothes and you are able to understand the right data that helps you to sell clothes and not make losses and you make the right profit, you are data literate. It means that whatever data that is presented to you, for you to be able to sell your clothes, you can interpret it, which is the lowest level you can be when it comes to data literacy. Remember, we said data literacy is about you being able to interpret, manage, analyze, and communicate your findings. So the goal of data literacy is not about you being now able to write the big code, the C++, the C#, the Python, the Anaconda, the whatever, all sort of names that we call it. It's simply meeting you at your own level of literacy, empowering you to be able to work optimally and do what you are meant to do at an highest level. You become operationally efficient because you have been empowered with the right access to the data, to the right amount of data at the right time. What are the level of data literacy? And this is what we've all been waiting for, right? And Glory, thank you for starting with a poll. And I think I can see that most of the people that are in this class, we fall within the middle, which is the medium. But let's take it in detail and understand what it means to be data conversational, literate, or fluent. There are different IDs, there are different memos, there are different names when you read different articles out there about what data literacy levels are. This is not a one-size-fits-all, and this is not for me to say we are trying to reinvent the wheel. It is more about the function, not about the title. So regardless of whatever it is, regardless of whatever name it is, it all comes to the same bottom line, right? It means that for conversation now, you are able to understand common data concepts and can interpret basic analytical outputs that can help you to make smarter decisions. So at a conversational level, you are just everyday to-day users, the C-suits, the CEOs, the HR, the teacher that just needs to use data. They are non-analysts who just needs to consume it. They are data consumers, and they can help them to potentially make decisions based on the analytical output of the data that is presented in front of them. So we call them data interpreters. And at that level, we say you are conversational. Then for data literate, these are now the people that can not just only interpret, but they can manage and analyze data for relatively simple descriptive and diagnostics analysis. And from the word descriptive, they are able to use data to describe what they have been able to find out from the data that is presented in front of them. So if you go to your doctor, he's going to ask you series of questions and run some tests to be able to establish and tell you what his diagnosis are and be able to describe the situation and help you to prescribe and probably tell you that this is what you should be doing or what not to be doing. He can even give you prescriptions. At that particular level, what he was doing initially was he was collecting data. Now, those data that is collecting from you, it needs to be able to interpret it. It needs to be able to manage and analyze it so that it will be able to give you suggestions or be able to narrow down what exactly the situation is. So at this level of literacy, we call them citizen analysts. And guess what? Just like the example I've given, like your doctors, financial analysts, sales analysts, program analysts. These people, like a junior analyst that is not yet a senior analyst. So these people aren't necessarily an analytics specialist, but they leverage data in their role. It is the key factor in what they do on a daily basis. And when you have data fluency, which is the oga patapata of all the highest, you have the skills to think strategically, design and conduct complex analysis, and clearly communicate insights and implications to both technical and non-technical audience. So these are the people who call data specialists. And here is where you hear your data scientist, BI analyst. When I say BI analyst, I mean business intelligence analyst. You have your data engineers, data modelers, security experts, cybersecurity experts. So these are the people that are fluent with data. And when you look at every level of the literacy that we've identified here, we are all needed as part of the whole general ecosystem for the organization to be able to perform and function as a whole entity, right from the gate where we have the gateman. A gateman needs to know who and have the right access to be able to enter and get out of the organizations. So at that level of a gateman, he just needs to be able to interpret the information that is right in front of him. However, for somebody that is in our server room, that is managing the whole organization data, it needs to be fluent. Now you understand that depending on your level of what you do on a day-to-day basis, data literacy is just about empowering you to do what you do best. So I'll take that again. It is empowering you to be able to do your daily job at the highest level. It is not about transforming you from conversational to fluent or from literate. For whatever level you are fine, in as much as you are empowered and you understand the right data that you need to be able to do what helps you do your job at the highest level. So how data literate are you? For us to answer that question, we will need to use this 3x4 matrix where we have the level of literacy on one side and the component of data literacy, where we've established that you need to be able to interpret, manage, analyze, and communicate. Then at the conversational level, where are the prominent components that is applicable for that level? It means that when you are a conversational at that level of literacy, you are able to interpret and manage. That is what is pronounced. You can read and understand basic table charts and metrics. And you are able to access this data in spreadsheets and perform basic actions like manipulating rows, columns, and cells. That is all you need at that level. And every one of us can begin to introspect and think that what level am I? All you need to do when you analyze at that level is to be able to apply basic filtering, sorting, and exploring data. You don't necessarily have to be able to build models. You don't necessarily have to be able to code. And in as much as you can participate and have conversations and share relevant information based on the data that is presented in front of you, yes, you are good to go. What happens when you are now data literate? It means you are able to interpret, manage, and analyze. So now you cannot just only read and understand basic data. Now you understand it at the interpretation layer, and you can draw conclusions from data presented in basic visuals and reports. In order for you to manage at this level, you can interact with multiple data from different sources, from CRM to data lake to data warehouse, and you can identify and correct common QA issues. When we say QA, common quality issues, and structure the table for analysis. So these are the people that use data on a daily basis to help them to perform the task that is in front of them. You use tools like formulas and charts and pivot table to identify patterns and trends. I don't think everybody needs to be able to do that on Excel to do their job. The misconception here will now be you compelling people to become what they are not meant to become, rather than empowering them to be literate enough to have the access to the data that helps them do their job effectively. And when you are data fluent, you have to be able to do the all four at the highest level. You should be able to interpret data presented in virtually any format, including dashboard, complex charts, and models. And for you to manage, you are the people that design ETL workflows. That is extract, transform, and loading of data. You see, don't bother yourself about it if you don't understand what ETL means. That is exactly what this class was designed for. You don't need to know. It's not your job. Sometimes all these concepts still confuses me myself. So if that's a very big consolation, yes, you can go with that and be happy that, yes, I don't need to know about it. Yes, you don't need to know about it if you don't need to know about it. They are the people that can leverage wide range of tools and techniques, languages, models to analyze large, complex data sets. And when they use data, when they communicate data, they can tell story. They have storytelling techniques to communicate insight and inspire stakeholder to act. Everybody at different level, we are all needed and we play our part to make an organization to be a whole entity that it is. So at this point, I will permit us to take like a minute to think through what we've been saying and ask yourself, am I conversational? Am I literate? Or am I fluent? At the end of the class, we will be using the Mentimeter to take a short assessment, a live assessment in the class, and we'll look at the general class, what our level of literacy really is. Basically, regardless of who you are, at whatever level of data literacy that you found yourself, conversational or data interpreter is the lowest level that you can be. And that is why we say, basically, you should be able to interpret and manage data. That is, when data are presented in front of you, At least you should know how to interpret it, how to make sense of it, to be able to do what you do on a daily basis. And managing means as simple as you being able to access where the data is. And for context, interpretation means making sense of information presented as tables or charts and knowing how to apply data profiling and QA techniques to understand the characteristic of a data set. Managing data means understanding how to access and work with different format and storage modes, and how to extract, transform, load, and prepare this data for analysis. Do you need to know how to do all this? No. If all you need to know is to access where your data is on your SharePoint, then you are good to go. Remember when we started this class, I said data is produced in very huge volume. About 90% of the world data was produced in the past 2 years. That's a lot. And in different varieties. Text, images, video, emails, and all formats of data. And at a very high velocity. It's being produced and processed at a very high speed. In fact, that is why we can all be on this call and you are hearing me live. When you combine these three things together, it is what has led us to the era of big data. And from what I've presented in front of us, our interpretation in this class will be that those data are seriously big. They are huge. Now, the question we need to ask ourselves, is it that we need to produce as much data as huge as that, or we need to be responsible with how we use data, or should we be saving the data that is necessary for us as an individual, as an organization, as a country? I will leave you to that. Think about it. If we are producing so much that we are not using, are we contributing to the value that we are adding to the global data system, to the whole world as a whole, trickling it down to enterprise, trickling it down to states and countries and continents? We all contribute to this, or we need to be responsible with how we use data. The simple answer to all this is that we need to bridge the gap between the way we are producing data and how we use it meaningfully by ensuring that we preach the gospel of responsible use of data. And how do we achieve that? Until we come to a point whereby we can do our own bits, just like Techlytics is doing today, by bringing us together to be in this class to understand what data literacy means. Now that we know what different levels of data literacy is, how exactly do we empower employees to be data literate? So this is the concept that has been overflogged and has been used. It is called data democratization, democracy of data. The data by the people, for the people, and for the people, right? This describes the process of empowering people, employees, everyone throughout an organization with the access and resources they need to make data-driven decisions. So when you look at these towards your left-hand side, this is the conventional settings in most organizations, where we have the people that we call the gatekeepers, the analytics and the IT guys, right? So this is your data. These are the IT guys, and this is the rest of us. They are the gatekeepers. Now, for us to have access to the data that we need, for us to be able to make use of the data, we have to go through them. I am not saying it's wrong, don't get me wrong, because there needs to be guardrails, there needs to be security measures, there needs to be protection. However, When there are limited access, it discourages data-driven decisions. It discourages people. When people don't have direct access to the data sources and they are not provided with the knowledge and the skills that they need to be able to have access at the time that they need it, it's very frustrating. While security and governance is very important to limit access so that everybody, the data you don't necessarily have to access, you are not given access to it. We should not get to a point whereby our data are protected and they are in good quality, yet there are no access. So you hear common pain points like, I don't have access to the data I need. I don't have the skills to make use of the data, because now they think that the data belongs to the IT guys. It's their job. It's not our job. Because people don't even understand what the common data is, that data belongs to everyone. Because this is about the organization. This is about our data. It's nobody's data. I don't have the right tools for the job. This is what I am advocating. We should decentralize this rather than now you now see that the IT guys are like the rest of us. Now, the difference here is that the IT guy is data fluent, while probably the guy that is in HR is a data conversationist, or the guy that is in finance is just a data literate. Now, everybody is now at their own different level of literacy, and they are empowered to have the right access at the right time to the data as they need it. This is how an organization can empower employees to be data literate. Now there are no gatekeepers. So when we democratize access to data and provide data literacy skills training, like we are doing today, you empower employees to build, number one, confidence. They will be able to work smarter and they will be able to make better decisions. But we've been talking about access. Empowering and data democratization isn't just about data access. So one of the key takeaways I want us to go for, it is an ongoing process. It's about cultural shift. It's about shifting mindset to enable people with the skills, tools, and resources they need to utilize data responsibly and effectively. Responsible use of data and effective use of data. That is how you empower your employees to be able to be data literate. Now, how do we create an environment that supports data literacy? That is what we call the data ecosystem. We started by saying the good news is that 85% of executives, they all come together according to QLeak and said that one of the most important skills that employees must have is data literacy skills. If that's being said, then it has to be written into the fabrics of our data strategy, which is the overarching vision for how data will be used for the business. Remember that even though the 85% of so many organizations commit to the fact that data literacy is important, we said that half of them are not even providing training, and a little amount of just 11% of employees, according to QLeak, are data literate. So if we are going to create an environment that is going to support data literacy, it needs to start from our data strategy. So let's look at data strategy as like you are building, just like we are trying to build an ecosystem that supports data literacy. So data strategy is like a blueprint for a building that ensures that everyone working on the project is following the same plan. It means that every leadership, you and I and everyone, it's our job. Data runs the world, either you know it or not. So we need to commit, and it needs to become a blueprint, a fabric of every organization data strategy to ensure that we commit 100% to data literacy of our workforce without necessarily complicating it. We've already debunked the myth. We are not saying you should convert conversational data literacy to people that need to become data specialists. No, we are not saying you should turn people to data engineers. We are not saying people that does not need to code, you should start forcing them to code. We are saying that empower every employee so that they have the right access and they are able to use data responsibly and effectively. It is not enough to have a strategy. It is just a piece of document. It is just that you are committing. This is a vision. There now has to be technology that supports that strategy, and that is where data architecture comes in. This is the technology used to collect, manage, process, and connect data. So consider data architecture like the foundation and plumbing, which creates a solid structure and allows data to flow from one place to another. Now we have a strategy. We have an infrastructure that supports the strategy. You and I know that we have been talking about two important key artifacts here: responsible use of data and efficient and data that can be used effectively. You see, the combination of this is what ultimately determines the organization performance. So if you have a strategy and architecture without guardrails, that is where governance comes in. It sets the rules and the framework to make sure data is secure, accurate, and what? Usable. Usable. It means that it is not enough to secure and ensure that your data is trusted. It needs to be made available. And when we talk about availability, when we talk about usability, we are talking about like 4 things, right? We are talking about the right access at the right time, right? When it is needed and how it is needed and at the right amount. So governance is like the building codes that ensure that workers have the proper permits and follow the same universal quality standard. So think about those high-performing organizations. This is the kind of ecosystem that they've been able to build. They have a strategy that supports a workforce that it is highly data literate, and an architecture and infrastructure that is in alignment with the data strategy. And there's an oversight that governs the responsible use of data. And this is how you provide an environment that supports data literacy. If you have an environment and you are able to build an ecosystem that supports this, what you are going to achieve is what we call data-driven decision-making, which is the outcome. So I've had people talk about data-driven decision-making as if it is the process itself. However, it is the byproduct of building an ecosystem that supports literacy, that supports empowerment of your workforce and employee. That ultimately leads to an output that is called data-driven decision-making. So you now see a workforce that is responsible, that is high-performing, that knows how to use the right data at the right time to be able to do what is needed and expected of them. Oh, I have just been saying the word data-driven decision-making. What exactly is data-driven decision-making? How are data-driven decisions are made? We started by defining what data is. So for most people that end at just data level, you are not data driven. So for us to be data-driven, data needs to be processed like oil. And it is why you've heard about the popular saying by Crombie that data is the new oil, because it also needs to be mined, refined, and repackaged before it becomes useful for analysis. In our previous example, we collected the list of fruits that some certain people need, but it was meaningless until we start asking them, what kind of fruit do you want? What type of fruit do you want? Then we have a list of different types of fruits that each person wants. That is when we are having context and meaning. That's exactly what data also stands for. It's just a mere representation of fact at its core until it is processed. When it is processed, it is when you get to what is called information. This data that is processed and organized and are stored, it is analyzed to produce useful information which add context and clarity. Now we are clear that it is not just a list of fruits that we are looking at different types of fruits that we know who and who needs which, and the one that somebody does not need. And when your data has been processed is when we say we have information. However, information is not enough if it is not driving insights, which is called meaningful findings, which can help inform or influence business decisions and recommendations. And this recommendation should be insightful enough to able to steer decision makers to make decisions with those recommendations that impact in real world. So think of the lowest level that you can be when it comes to data as data itself at its raw form. Then you move what to call information layer, then insight layer and action. As you keep going up, what you have is called value. So ultimately, if you have not been hearing me loud and clear, I want you to take this home that data is an asset. That is why we are all here. And ultimately, we want to be able to use it to add value to our life. We want employees to be able to use this data to add value to the organization. And the way this is done is when we are able to move from data to information to insight, and we are able to take actions that is data-driven. So let's have an illustration of what we are saying about data, information, insight, and action. So data is when you say there are just 173 transactions in January, that's a very good start. But the truth is, we have this information we don't know. Maybe it was higher than what we had in December. We don't know what is contributing to these 173 transactions. So there were 173 transactions in January. It's just the data. We cannot make any decisions. We can't take any action based on that. But the information here is that if I had said there was 173 transactions in January, which is up by 75% over what we had in December, then you are saying that, yes, this is an information. Now, this 173 means that we sold 75% more than what we sold in December. So imagine somebody that had stopped at the data layer. They are having two different information, right? Then we went further to say, what exactly is even contributing to this 75% uptick? Fitness equipment and athletic apparel saw the largest month-on-month gains. So the gain we are experiencing in January over December is because we sold more of fitness equipment. And you can guess now what could really be causing that. Then it means that at the data level, we know what data we have. Now at the info level, we know how, but we didn't know why. That is why we really need to process this information further to get the necessary insight and know our why. So our why is that every January we see uptick in sales and revenue, driven primarily by new customers looking for prioritization of health and fitness in New Year. And we are all guilty of it in this class. If not all of us, most of us, including myself. Every New Year, I used to register for more than 3 gyms. So imagine how many of gym equipment that so many people are buying at that point in time. It is the reason why there was more sales in January. Now, think about it. The person that has stayed at data and information level, what kind of action do you think that person would have taken? The person might likely have taken an action that, oh, we need to be restocking more of fitness equipment. Oh, that would have been a disaster because you did not know why. You didn't get the right insight from the information that is in front of you. So you could only just interpret. You did not what? Analyze that information to be able to get the right insight. Now, whatever recommendation you are giving based on that, it's going to lead to either a desirable outcome or an undesirable one. So based on this data, we can now recommend that we can increase our advertisement budget and testing campaign to promote top-selling health and fitness products in January. So if I were to be in this organization, I would tell them, our campaign should be on fitness equipment and athletic apparel from December because people are going to make new resolution by January. Let's sell it. But don't you think this is an expired information and an information that is not useful by April? Absolutely yes. And this is what it means to make data-driven decisions. So you are not just staying at the data layer. You process your data to become information. You've gathered the necessary insight and you are giving recommendation that is helping you to make an action that is justifiable. So let's look at case studies of organizations that have an ecosystem that supports literacy, that have been making data-driven decisions. I'm sure we are all very familiar with all these organizations that is here, from Netflix to Uber to Google to Apple. These are the top high-performing organizations. These world most successful companies leverage on data for everything. Leverage on data is the word for everything. And how do you leverage on data without having a workforce that is being supported with the right strategy, the right architecture and governance in place, which we call the data ecosystem, that can help them to be what? Data literate, which means that data is democratized and they are having an enabling environment that empowers them to help them leverage on data on everything that they do, from product design to pricing strategy, risk mitigation, financial modeling, and many more. For instance, data is how Netflix and Spotify know which movies and songs to recommend. Amazon knows which product you are likely to buy. In fact, they know how to ensure that the product gets to your house. This is how sports teams evaluate talents, how banks detect fraud, how Uber connects driver with passenger in real time. Do you know how many times you would have stayed at Mushin bus stop and Oshodi bus stop that the driver will not wait for you? Because of what? They don't have data. They don't know you are waiting. But you know Uber knows where exactly to pick you and know where to get you to. That is data-driven decision making. Do you know how many times that you've had to run behind that bus, that you are waiting at the bus stop for the past 30 minutes because they don't have the right data? They don't know. This is what it means to be data-driven. Teacher uses this data to track test scores, identify knowledge gaps. Sales manager uses data to monitor team's performance. HR uses it, marketer uses it. Regardless of whatever area you found yourself, you need data and data needs you. The key thing is how literate. How much do you understand your data? At least basically you should be able to interpret it so that you can be able to use it to help you to achieve whatever task that is in front of you. And ultimately, what will come out of that is that you become data-driven. And let's close it by telling ourselves what are the key benefits of data literacy. By now, if I say we should start typing it into the chat box, I'm sure every one of us know what data literacy benefits are. However, for the sake of time, here are some few ones. The list is inexhaustible, but I've picked out some major benefits. It helps you make smarter and more impactful decisions. You'll be able to work more efficiently and it helps to supercharge your productivity. You help to make an impact and drive meaningful business outcomes that accelerate your career and earn a higher salary. And according to QLix, he said data literate, the people that are data literate, they earn 25% more than those that are not. And it helps you to build a future-proof, highly versatile skill set. I think that it is not even about future. The reality is that the more data literate you are in the world of today, the better chances you have to be able to face the future that we used to say, which is today. What is the eligibility? Who is eligible for data literacy? Right? Anyone is eligible to be data literate, from students to professionals and general public. Regardless of your background, as long as you seek to understand, interpret, and use data effectively. At this point, I will close it by saying the three C's. Be creative, be critical in how you think, and be curious. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Like this was a lot, right? It felt like you were able to make us really understand the importance of data literacy. Like people are clapping, and I think we should clap. Please, please, we should clap. It felt like when they say crash course, right? You were able to touch on everything, right? And one that really stood out for me was when you were speaking around. Wow, people are really hey, oh my god, the chat box everywhere. Wow, was when you were speaking about the levels of data literacy, how data literate you are, where you talked about the conversational, the literate, and the fluent, right? I remember that when you started, I had put out a poll to people for people to say, their levels, that, but like this was now you felt like I didn't ask the right question. I should have asked that what level, of how data literate are you? Are you conversational? Are you on conversational level? Are you on conversational level? Are you literate or are you fluent? And it just put a lot of context to what really data literacy is. And I loved when you said that data literacy is not necessarily about codes, right? You don't need to know how to code. You are okay where you are so far it meets the requirements of what you're doing at work, or the end goal. Say you're running a business, so far it meets that requirement. And thank you so much, Rotimi. Like this was an amazing and insightful session. I was able to take note of a lot of things, and I know that everybody on this call, to tell you that people were fixated on this call, we didn't have maybe one or two drop-offs. People were fixated and stayed till the end, and that shows how an amazing instructor and speaker that you are. And it's just a very big thank you to you for helping us demystify what data literacy is, right? So quick one before Rotimi goes off. Do you have any questions for Rotimi? Please put them in the chat box. And I want to know your data literacy level now, the correct one. The one I put earlier is wrong.
Yes.
Right?
So
So
permit me to share
please
a
go. Yes,
this
please.
that I put together
Yeah,
for
please
everyone.
go.
So
All
I'm
right.
going to be putting a mentor here now.
All
So
right.
let me
Okay.
share my screen again. So So let me know if you can see my screen. Can you? Can you all see my screen?
Not yet. Not yet. I think not yet. It's not coming up yet. Please, can you try sharing again? It's not coming up at all.
All right. All right. Let me reshare. Oh, is this network or something? So it's just rolling and rolling. Can it be network or something?
Yeah, I think it's network because you can present. You just finished presenting. So I think it's a network. Um do I have what you want to share? I could help with that if it will work from my end.
Oh, that's good. Let me just share it with you.
Mhm. Let me see if I can check what's happening from here. Uh, can you try again, please? I'm trying to see. Please try again. Sorry, everyone. So we're trying to share something with you. A Mentimeter, if I'm correct. So sorry, the presentation is taking time, but we're going to get it up very soon so that you can rate yourself and know where you stand presently. Mm. Is it coming up now, sir? Please, you can drop your questions, by the way. Yeah, your screen is up now, Rotimi. For everyone on the call, please drop your questions while we wait for while Rotimi, brings this up. But please get your questions ready. Put them on the chat box already if you have any questions for Rotimi. So yeah, your screen is up now, Rotimi. I can't hear you.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh, great. All right. So you can just scan on the barcode, or you just go to menti.com and use the code that is in front of you. So what is your literacy level? Just pick the right one and let's see what our literacy level are in this class. Now
All
you
right.
know what a conversational is, you know what a literate is and what a fluent is. So we can see somebody has already voted and says that they are fluent. So you just scan the barcode. It's quite interactive and easy to use. Use your phone to scan the barcode and just click on your data literacy level. Wow. That's another posting. This is a beautiful one. I'm in a class of experts. This is amazing. Wow. Glory, you have packed fluent people in this class.
I'm so proud of them.
I'm proud of Techlitics, right? We have somebody that is literate. So let's keep voting. Let's keep it coming. Oh, now it's catching up. Don't rejoice yet. That's another one. So there's nobody that is conversational in this class. I guess I'm the only one that is conversational in the class. All right. So thank you all for taking this poll and this vote. I suppose that you are not just picking it for picking sake. Now you understand why you are fluent. For those that speak literate, you understand why you are literate, right? There's no shame in it. It means that you understand that you are empowered enough to be at whatever literacy level that is required of you to do that thing that you do best on a daily basis. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Rotimi. Wow, this was interesting. I really enjoyed the final activity we did. I also took part. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, everyone. So Favor was asking um how you can. Oh, I don't think I got that question. All right. Thank you so much, Rotimi. I feel like we had an amazing time in class. And it's been a swell time. Thank you so much once again. Thank you for
You're
gracing us
welcome.
and giving us from your wealth of knowledge, right? So in light of no questions, final one now. I'm going to drop a poll. We want to rate today's webinar. This is our way of telling Rotimi that you did amazingly well. So I just published a poll. Let's make Rotimi feel like he has done a beautiful job with us, right? Oh my God, I've not even finished speaking, and then we already have two people voting 5-star, right?
Whoa.
So we want Rotimi to finish this webinar, and then he's just blushing to say, "Hey, I had an amazing time at Episix." So please let Rotimi know how well he did today, right? So how would you rate today's webinar? We still have people voting. We have about 17 people on the call now, so I should expect more votes, right? Okay, let's bring it coming. Right, so we're going to do this, and then after this, we're going to wrap up. So let's make Rotimi know that you did an amazing job with us, right? Yeah. So we have most people. 5% are saying that you did amazingly well, and they're giving you 5-star. So thank you so much, Rotimi, for staying through to the end of class, to the end of this session, and thank you to everyone. You all made this session interesting, and very, 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 very interesting. All right. So look out for more webinar sessions. You're going to get recordings after this session, and it's also going to be on our YouTube page. That's Techlitics Africa. Check out our website for new things that might come. We're going to be having more data literacy webinars. So stay tuned and be data literate. Right. Thank you so much. Please enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.